A very good evening to everyone present here today. My name is Zaina Bidris, and I am today's moderator. I'm extremely pleased to welcome all of you to yet another session of the Author's Saga. We are now live on Facebook, and we have individuals joining in from many different countries and areas. So, let's start by having a quick introduction about Pick a Book. So, Pick a Book encourages the reading habit by getting all participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary, which also helps to hone his or her public speaking, communication, and presentation skills. By doing this, Pick a Book not only inculcates the habit of reading, but also helps to impart a wealth of knowledge. Currently, Pick a Book has marked its inspiring presence in 4 countries: Sri Lanka, India, the UK, and Singapore, in just a span of 1 year, with 600 plus readers, 18 regions, and over 30,000 people inspired. Pick a Book is continuing to spread its wings across the whole globe. Pick a Book has recently begun a fantastic initiation called the Author's Saga. So through these sessions, authors will be able to reach readers and individuals with like-minded interests. Authors can discuss the key insights of their book, and viewers will be able to take away from this. We hope to help authors inspire fellow readers and aspiring authors as well on their journey. These sessions will be really inspiring with authors to ensure that they gain a wider reach and encourage individuals to further enhance their reading habit. So, without any further ado, I'm extremely pleased and thrilled to welcome our author guest for the evening, Nilu Abdul Hussain, who resides in Sri Lanka. Nilu is a Sri Lankan mother of 4 who has taken up writing for pleasure after her children had left home to pursue their higher studies. Her first novel, titled Manvi, is a town in the state of Gujarat in India, a place that has always fascinated the author, ever since she had heard the tale of the seafarers and traders from Manvi being washed ashore by a storm to land and settle in her motherland, Sri Lanka. An avid reader, a preschool teacher, so much more. She still loves working with toddlers and painting in her free time as well. So without any further ado, let's welcome Nilu. Hi, Nilu. How are you today? We are so happy to have you.
What do you want me to talk about?
All right. So actually, I guess let's just dive straight into the session. So actually, before we start, have to say that we're so delighted to have you here today and to start discussing your journey and your book, Manvi. So actually, let's just dive right into it. So let's begin by talking a little bit about your childhood. Were you always a reader and or writer?
Not really. Remember, Zainab, at our time, we did not have television, we did not have computers, so we were encouraged to read. So as a result, we all developed this love. Our imagination, everything was propagated through books. And I was very lucky to have both my parents who were readers and writers. And my father himself had his own library. So I wouldn't say I was a very deep, highbrow reader. I started as usual with every child with Enid Blyton's and William books, whatever, and then went on to Agatha Christie's. I like good English. So I was not like, if it was classics, it was like Jane Austen or Alexander Dumas, love stories and these things. But then I progressed to, I love murder mysteries, so Agatha Christie's and whatever. So I wouldn't say like a highbrow reader, but I loved reading. So it doesn't mean that you have to be reading all the classics or whatever to write. It's just that you need to have a good grounding in English to be able to write. So that was my childhood. We were encouraged and we were privileged to have the books.
Any childhood favorites that you would like to mention? Or that you recall, rather?
Yes, P.G. Wodehouse. I love P.G. Wodehouse. If you have ever read it, it's very British. lovely British humor. Then Gerard Durrell, have you read him? It's about all
I've not
animals.
read, I've heard though.
Yeah.
Very
So those
famous,
were
yeah.
the authors of our times that were popular, and
Yeah.
so I love those books. And then later on, Harry Potter, as everybody
Oh,
loves.
I'm a diehard
As
Harry Potter
yeah.
fan.
So
Diehard.
even now I read like murder mysteries and yeah,
Of
those
course,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, light
Okay.
reading. But yeah.
All
So
right, awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, which is actually about your book. So, what actually mainly inspired you to write such a book, Manvi, like about the place? What has, where did your inspiration come from?
so as you said earlier, somebody asked me to describe myself in 3 words, and I said mother, preschool teacher, and accidental author. Right? So that was
Okay.
actually an accident. There was 2 reasons. One was because of my mother, to whom I have dedicated the book, and because she loved to watch these Indian teledramas, and I used to be
Okay.
obliged to sit and watch with her. And I used to say these stories have no end and they have no sense, and that I will write her a teledrama that will have a beginning, that will have an end. We'll have all her weddings and funerals and all these things, but it will have some sense and it'll have
Of
like
course.
connectivity. It'll have some connectivity. So
Yes.
as a result, the first reason that inspired me to write was writing for my mother. And
Amazing.
the next thing that actually made me an author was the lockdown, because everybody
Oh,
thought that the lockdown is like a negative thing,
yeah.
but to some people it's a positive thing because
Yeah, so many new talents, I guess, came out of it. Yeah,
yeah.
of
So
course.
because of the lockdown, earlier because I was not tech savvy or anything, I write in longhand. So as a result, I was writing all this, but I had really no this thing of putting it out or anything until the lockdown happened, and then I managed to get it all typed out on this thing. Somebody helped me, and like that, I managed to send it out. So for me, I think it was accidental that I became an author because both these things helped me. I didn't go out, set out to be an author.
Of
So
course, yeah.
everybody has hope. Everybody should be encouraged to
Yeah.
write. And so as a result, my book got published.
Okay, wow, amazing. That's amazing. Also, believe it or not, years might have passed, but I'm still convincing my own mother to, stay away from those teledramas. All right,
Give her to read the
amazing.
books. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, amazing. Okay, so actually, how did you manage to conduct research for your book? Can you share a little bit about your experience
Yes.
while you were conducting the research?
Yeah. Now, when I was doing this book, um, the, I chose the title Mandvi because there was connections to our family and to the community, and because, as you said, my father-in-law had mentioned that they had come from this place. And
Yeah.
when I was forming this story was in my head. But in 2017, my husband and I went and visited Manvi. So
Wow.
when I saw Manvi, the story, I found the setting. For my
Hmm.
story, I found the setting because I
Yeah.
personally went there. So that was
Okay.
one way that I set my story because I visited the place. Everything else was I researched on Google. I must say,
Okay.
Google helped me because everything else I could research. Now, remember, I
Yeah.
wrote my story on 3 generations. So
Hmm.
I had to get all my timelines correct. I had to
Yeah.
make sure years were. It was called Bombay. Then after that, it was called Mumbai or Chennai and Madras. So I had to get all those facts. And I must say, I did a lot of research on Google. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that very much. So 2 things. I visited the place I wrote about. So I knew, like physically, I could picture it.
You could
So I
picture
could,
it, of course. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the two
Okay.
things that helped me.
Okay, so basically it was just visiting and Google, right? So I guess
Yes,
everything
yes,
you needed you kind of found off Google, which I think is
yes,
so
right.
amazing in this day and
Yeah.
age.
And
Okay.
everybody can, that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's
Okay.
everybody's right.
Great. Okay. So as you said, your book involves the story of five women over, the span of three generations, right? So
Yeah.
was it actually tough or was it a challenge to, integrate and cover all the attitudes towards gender and marriage and race all at the same time? I just want to know, how did you manage to, carry that out so beautifully and so effortlessly at the same time?
No, so it was okay because it was over a period of my lifetime. So I
Okay.
could relate to the issues when I was young and how now when my daughter is grown up, how our attitudes have changed.
Of course.
Like, personally, how our attitudes have changed. Things that would not have been allowed at that time, today we look at it so differently.
Yeah.
So all that helped, and also because I lived through the time where um, like we say, the during the estates when we had these periodores who were British and all that, there was a different lifestyle at that
Yeah.
time.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I could relate to all that, and that's how I conveyed it in my book. The only thing that it was because I was writing this as like a teledrama, like a teledramatic story.
Yeah.
I set it in India because I
Okay.
remember that I was targeting a middle class Indian audience, right? So I
Okay.
had to set it in India. Then I chose the place, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I set it there because of
Okay.
the market. Now, so there are different reasons why people write, right? So there are everybody. I mean, for authors who love to write,
Of course.
so there are different reasons. And for
Yes.
me, yeah, it was, as I say, accidental, but I enjoyed the writing process. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So did you, physically like interview these women that you have
No,
included in your story or no?
no, nothing. It's all
Okay.
in my imagination.
Oh, okay.
All in my
Amazing.
imagination. But it was because I wanted to bring out, now there are some social issues like belief
Yeah.
in astrology. So that
Of course.
happens even in India or in Sri Lanka, where we go by the stars. Then teenage pregnancies and how
Of course.
attitudes have changed.
Yeah.
Attitudes have changed to attitudes of color, right? Those days where the color bar. So those were
It was very
things that
important those days, I
I
guess. Yeah.
wanted to feature in this marital rape, which is not spoken about.
Of
I
course.
wanted to
Yeah.
feature the dowry problem. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to feature all these social issues. So my
Okay. So all
character,
these issues are incorporated in the book, is it?
in a very
Okay.
subtle
So,
manner, in a very subtle
oh,
manner.
okay. Okay. All right.
I haven't gone into details, but all these
Okay.
social issues are there in this subtle manner that if people want to really think about it, you will
Okay.
realize there are so many things that these five women are going through.
Going
And their
through.
lives are all interconnected. They're all interwoven.
Oh, all
And it's like one life impacts another. What you do.
okay. Okay. So is that the whole sort of theory of the book? Is that how you portrayed it? Is it through their eyes or is it through your eyes? Or because I just want to
Yes,
know a little bit more
yes, yes,
about
yes.
the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a different this thing. Now remember, a lot of people, this when I wrote the book, I wrote it in first person, right? It's
Okay.
the first person writing is not common. Usually people write it second or third person
Yeah.
writing. So first person, but my style, I could convey my this thing in first person,
Okay.
like, right? So it was easier for me to talk as if I was that person. So that is my style of writing. Not everybody writes in first person, but you must do what is comfortable for you.
Of
Now
course. Yeah.
I have heard, I mean, this is my first novel and I have got very good feedback and I have got a few criticisms, so we have to take both, right? So one of the things is that they said I should have had more conversation in the book, if you
Okay.
read, right? But I'm writing
Okay.
in first person, so I'm writing about myself. It's like inner feelings rather than conversation.
All right.
So, yeah. So it's difficult. It's different for
Yeah.
different people.
Of course, yeah. That writing style is beautiful though, because as you said, most people don't usually do it that way. I know they
Yeah.
portray it through other people and stuff. Wow, amazing. So actually, to our final question is, can we just get a few words from you about why you personally read, and what other pieces of advice that you would have for aspiring authors such as yourself, and even any common traps that you might like to guide them through on their journey as well? Because we do have a lot of readers and authors viewing. So
So as I said first, in my case, it was like more commercial writing. So you have to have a target market, right? You're writing for a certain type of person. So you can't write for everybody. Like you can't write for highbrow literature people and this. So my story was for a target market. So you are addressing some people. So if you're writing about your story, you want to address people like you, then you keep it to that. So have somebody in mind that who's going to read your book and who's going to like your book. Then write in a style that is that you're comfortable with. Because now I'm actually started my second book, and I have tried to take a few of the criticisms and try to change it to put conversation and to put these things, but I don't find it easy. I don't
okay, yeah,
find
of course, yeah. Everyone's
change your,
different, I guess. Yeah.
don't change your style to please other people. Though you try every method that you
Different stuff. Yeah,
feel,
correct.
but do what is comfortable for yourself. Then my third piece of advice would be like people say, you set aside a time every day for writing and all that. It doesn't work like that. Everybody
Okay.
has a different agenda. They have work, they have other things to do. And so everybody has a different way and time of writing. I could
Do you
not
have
sit.
a specific way
No,
or
I can't
specific
sit
time
every day.
rather that you?
No, I didn't
Okay.
have, right? So really,
Okay.
to tell you the truth, I went to Manvi in 2017. I had this vague story in my mind that I wanted to tell my mother. Then when I went to Manvi, I managed to set it there. And then when 2020 came, I used to keep writing for those 3 years. I used to just continue the story whenever I felt like it. But it was
Okay.
only in 2020 that it all came together, right? So
Yeah.
there is no timeline, there is no set method for authors. Each one has their own different way of doing things. So don't try to conform to somebody else's views. You listen to everybody. There's very good advice on the net,
Oh,
but do
yeah.
what you're comfortable with. Right. That's my
Amazing.
advice. Okay.
Yeah, and even that the thing about the target audience, that was really brilliant, because I've never even thought about it in that way
Yeah.
myself, where you just
Yeah.
target one specific audience. Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So here we have actually one question from the audience. Um, Let me just read it out. Just a sec. Yeah. So the question is actually from Rajiv, and he is
Okay.
asking, did you ever face writer's block? So this has actually come from one of our WhatsApp channels,
Yes.
because I guess people are
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah. Not really. Not really. Of course, remember, because uh, you're a teacher, you're a housewife, whatever. You have other things on your mind, so you don't go like you. I didn't have writer's block, but I
Mhm.
didn't have a regular writing system either.
System, of
Uh,
course. Yeah.
yeah. I love writing. Now, at the moment when I'm writing, every time I feel like it, I go and jot something down. But the story we'll get together later, I think.
All
I have some.
right. Okay.
The other thing I would love to tell audiences is this first book was because of my mother. But the second and third book, I have found that something that somebody has mentioned has triggered my imagination. So I am
Oh,
weaving a
wow.
story. I'm weaving a story around two things that triggered. So now the story is imaginative, but the actual inspiration was triggered by what somebody said. So listen to other people. Something will catch your interest. So,
Yeah.
and including, I have already sort of this thing got inspired for a third book. through
Wow.
what's
Okay, so when can we actually expect all these books from you?
no, nobody knows when, but the inspiration
Okay.
will come. So there is no writer's block, but it may take time. You never know how long.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
All
one
right.
seems to be faster because we are still in lockdown.
Haha,
Yeah.
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 Of Just waiting on the delightful surprise of when these next books are going to
Yes.
come out.
But
All right, actually,
In this case also, Zainab, the second book is in India, so I need to be able to travel to that
to
place.
travel, of course, because I guess you do gain inspiration from the place that your
Yeah.
book is set in, right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
hopefully you can travel soon. But with
True.
that, we have actually come to the end of this session. This was an extremely inspiring conversation, and I, for one, I'm surely going to read this book. I know all our viewers must be wanting to as well. So we'll display the QR code at the end. So actually, with that, we've come to the end, and it's these kind of little sessions and little interviews with authors that really help for everyone just to get inspired, even aspiring authors. I mean, I'm sure
Yes.
this really
Yes.
helps them. Yeah. So we've come to the end of our author saga session, which is actually a part of Pick a Book. So once again, Pick a Book inculcates the reading habit by getting all the participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary, which basically helps in overall to hone their public speaking, communication, and presentation skills. So this was really an inspiring session, and I'm so glad we have started this initiation. And if you would like to see Pick a Book, if you would like to see Pick a Book in one of your regions or be part of the Pick a Book community, we are really excited to hear from you. So please reach out to us via the email that we provide on the screen. And my name is Zaina Bidris. I was the moderator for this evening. And thank you so much, Nilu, for joining us. This was really a brilliant session. And thank you so much for sharing all your insights about your book.
Thank you, Zainab. Pleasure.
Sure. Hope to see you again here on soon.
I'll send you a book.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Tell me there.
Thank you.
Message.
All
Okay.
right. Okay. Thank you. Good night. Take care.